Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to our second seminar. Um, Today, I would like to introduce you to the art of storytelling in academic writing. So, first, let me show you a question that came my way. So, thank you all who have participated in the survey. And one of the recent questions was how to find my research direction. And that, of course, is a very important question, which goes way beyond what um, academic writing entails. So I will talk about this maybe at the end of this 4-part series. I will not forget about this question. I think this is a very important question. I think this is a problem that is really causing a lot of issues related to academic writing. And as we go through this series, I will keep thinking more about this, and I will try to put a few slides together to see if we can find some solutions for this. I think that this is also very important for supervisors. So this is something that maybe we can work on in collaboration. Okay, so last week, here just a short summary of what we have done last week. So last week we covered the basics, and just to repeat some of the main messages that I was trying to convey is first of all, why do we write? Why do we write papers? What our students think the way they write is to impress their readers. So writing has to be very sophisticated, impressive, complicated. It's all about appearance. But the problem here really is if the reader does not understand what you're saying, the default way of thinking about this is that this is her fault or his fault, not the fault of the writer. Now, what I was trying to convey last week is the true aim of academic writing really is not to impress, not to give the appearances if you know everything. The true aim of academic writing should always be to be understood by your readers. And because of that, we established last week that you must write clearly, you must write simply, you must write precisely, and with logic. Writing beautifully is at the very end of this list, and you should really not be too concerned about this. As Einstein already said, if you cannot explain it simply, and we can extend this to clearly, precisely, logically, you probably don't understand it well enough yourself. That's where I would like you to start when you think about academic writing. Okay. So still in summary from last week, and this is sort of reflected in an earlier student question, how do you write like a native speaker? And I really hope that everyone remembers the main message. To learn how to write like a native speaker, you have to start reading. Okay. So to see how many of you have actually taken on this message, I will start this class, this seminar today with a little exercise. I introduced you to the idea of Nature Briefing. You can subscribe to Nature Briefings, and Nature Briefings will send you a short overview of the latest science news that happened in the last couple of weeks. And so here is a little link that I would like you to go to. I hope, yeah, you're not using your mobile phone, so just scan in this QR code and just share with us 3 pieces of news related to science that you have been reading as part of your reading exercise that you promised that you will start after our seminar yesterday. So let's see what you guys can come up with. 5 minutes is more than enough. Don't write too much, just 3 short pieces of science news. So please go ahead. And let's see how many of you have actually done some reading. I will be checking on my other computer, and I can share some of the science news that you're posting my way. So please go ahead. Okay, we're getting the first news in. Very good. I think there's a misunderstanding here. I am not asking you what you have learned last week. I am asking you whether you have read any news related to sciences. You don't have to subscribe to Nature Briefings, but you can read anything that is related to science. So to read more like a native speaker is not exactly science news. So please try again. This is getting better. Okay. One piece of news that is very interesting, I will share with you. Plants can grow on the moon, says one participant. Another participant says the scientists of 6 countries are trying to focus on some unsolved proteins in human beings. Okay. I mean, that needs to be elaborated a bit more, but we don't have too much time to go into details. But anyone who is interested in this, please go and check this out yourself. One participant says ByteDance has released a big music SI model. Okay, that sounds like more like advertisement, doesn't it? Any other news? Anyone? I'm sure we have thousands of participants. So far, we have 12 answers. Monkeypox virus spread in many countries. I think this is a very worrying news that comes out of Europe and the US. This is really something we have to pay attention to. Very good. One participant says VPS34 forms multiple complexes with different functions. Okay. I believe we all know what VPS34 refers to. Okay, so anyone who's interested in VPS 34, please check this out yourself. Anyone else? 15 respondents. Wonderful. First pig kidneys transplanted into people. Wonderful. The Omicron virus infection patterns indicates that the SARS-CoV-2 virus is becoming more predictable. That sounds like a piece of good news. Okay. All right. So thank you very much to those. How many people do we have now? 16 people who have replied to this survey. So the other 2,000 plus participants, you have some work to do. Okay. So this is the main message from last week's seminar. Please start reading. And the best way to start reading is to read about science. And why not read science news? Science news is basically a digested version of science publications. You don't have to read the original papers. You can just read those science related news, and this is a very good start to start reading, to get into reading, to develop a habit of reading. It is fun. You will see things that are related to what you're doing. Okay, so please don't start with Agatha Christie or Charles Dickens. Start with something that is interesting to you. Okay, so now let's get started with today's class. So before we get to the storytelling, let me just give you just a few slides about the fundamentals of good writing. So when we talk about academic writing, there are a number of issues or elements that we need to talk about. One of them is organization. There are organizational patterns underlying any kind of writing. And there are a number of patterns that we will talk about, not today, maybe next class, that underlie the academic papers. And this is something you need to be made aware of. Now, of course, style is a major part when we talk about academic writing. We need to talk about style, and as you can see here, there are many different modules that can be covered. We may not have time to talk about all of them, but we will talk about the most important ones. Logical flow, of course, is a very important element of good academic writing. We will definitely talk about this next week. So in the basic part last week, we already talked about audience, how important it is to pay attention to your audience. And today, I will focus on storytelling. That, of course, is related to your audience as well. And I have linked this part, storytelling, to the part of abstract for the reason that abstract, the abstract of a paper is a very good indication if you are actually telling a story in your paper, whether you're telling the best story, whether you are telling a complete story. And these elements of storytelling I will introduce you today. And then at the end, we can talk about how to write an abstract. This is certainly something that is of great interest to many of you. There were many questions related to this. So I put these two together. And when you go home today, you will have learned not just something about storytelling, but you will hopefully also have learned something about how to write a good abstract. So here are some questions that came my way from our participants. And these questions very clearly indicate that this is a really important point that we need to talk about. Yeah, how to tell the story, how to tell a great story, how to build a good story. I don't know how to write a good story. Just to give you a few comments from you. Now, to show you what a big problem this actually is, I want to share with you an email exchange that I had with an established scholar from one of the institutes of the Chinese Academy of Science. So I wrote to the scholar, I'm currently discussing with my students how to tell a good story when writing a paper. Do you think I could send you a few questions to hear your opinion on this? Have a look what the scholar replied. Please feel free to send me your questions. However, I think this is a very complex question, and I don't have an answer. I am still struggling with this issue of storytelling. So this is an established scholar who's still struggling with this. So you are in a much better position. You are at the beginning of your scientific career, and you come to this seminar, and hopefully by the end of today's seminar, you will be in the position to tell not just a story, but the best story your data can possibly give to your readers. Okay, so you see, this is not just an issue for young scholars and students. This is an issue for established scholars as well. So storytelling in the sciences. When we tell our students in class that we want to introduce them to the idea of storytelling, they immediately, of course, think about telling a bedtime story to your children. What does this possibly have to do with writing a scientific paper? So this is what today's class is all about. So let me run you through some basics about storytelling, and then we link this up to how to write a scientific paper. So first of all, you need to understand that storytelling is a basic human endeavor, a basic human activity. Why is it so basic? Because it helps us to better understand how the world works, to make sense of our world. We have established storytelling in order to allow people, our listeners, to absorb information, not just in a rational way, but also putting a lot of emotions in. Okay, and emotions are very important for people to pay attention. If you don't tell a good story, if people don't get emotionally excited about what you're doing, what you're presenting, you have lost them immediately. Now, normally when we talk about stories, we talk about stories of the imagination. We talk about fantastical stories. We talk about mythology, things that we have made up. Now, this is the main difference. In a research paper, your story, of course, does not come from your imagination. It shouldn't. Otherwise, it will be fabricated, right? Your story should arise from facts, the facts that come out of your scientific data that you have collected. And just to give you an idea that this is being taken very seriously, just to give you a few book titles here, books written about how to tell a story, how to use storytelling in your academic writing, telling the story of the data, telling your data story, the art of storytelling, and even a book, The Science of Storytelling. So you can see there's a whole science about this. And so you can be assured that this is an important element that we need to introduce to you to make sure that you know how to start your paper in a way that you tell a good story. So, as with any story, be it a scientific story or be it a story of imagination, there are a number of key elements. Yeah, 6 key elements that each good story should have. There should be the characters. There's a setting of your story. There's tension, action, climax, and at the end, there should be a resolution. In a research paper, these elements are pretty much there as well. And by the end of this talk today, I think you will be familiar with those elements. So to start, where you should be familiar with these images that I show you here on the left side. This is very much what you have been taught in school, how to tell a story, right? You have the dragon head, you have the belly of the pig, and then you have the tail of the phoenix. This is sort of a graphical categorization, of which parts should be in a story. And in a scientific paper, you can categorize your scientific paper in exactly the same way. You have a setting of characters, in your introduction, your background. This is your background information in the introduction part of your paper. You have your scientific question. All this information is the start of your story. Then you have the tension, the action, and this is all in your results. This is where, you obtain the answers to the scientific questions that you have set out at the beginning to answer. And then at the end, we have a resolution. This is your discussion part. This is the conclusion section of your paper. So you can see what you have learned in middle school and high school about how to write a good story is reflected in a scientific paper. And we will come back to these sections again so that you get a better idea on how this works. So now one point that you may not be so familiar. So yes, every research paper definitely should tell a story, should tell a good story, should tell a logical story, a story that is flowing, and a story that your readers find engaging. The thing that you need to pay attention to now is, and this is a challenge, maybe this is the biggest challenge for you before you set out to write your paper, is that for any given research result, there are more than one story that you can tell. Okay, so once you have your set of 3, 4, 5 results, figures, you need to make a decision which of the many stories your paper could tell, which of the many stories you should tell. Now, our students are always surprised when they hear this. They think, well, that there can only really be one story. That's wrong. I will show you today that there are always multiple different angles from which you can look at a set of data. Okay, so I will give you examples to show you that this is indeed the case. And once you understand that, you will be on your way to make better decisions on what the best story is. Okay, so the important message really for today's class is to understand, first of all, that there are multiple stories in any set of data, and how to make up your mind of which story is the best. And that is related to audience, as you can see here. You need to think about your audience in order to make up your mind of what the best story is that you want to tell. Okay, so which story is the best for your particular audience? And so there are a number of questions related to this that your supervisors will already be aware of, but you as a young scholar, you may not know about this. So I will tell you today, and then you can go back and discuss this with your supervisor once you have your data set ready. You should go through this set of questions as part of your scientific training. Make sure you're always involved in these decision-making processes. Don't leave it up to your PI to make these decisions. Make sure that you learn how this process develops. So the first question is, who chooses the best stories, the best story of your paper? Is it all the authors? Is it the first author? Is it your PI? In every lab, this will be handled differently, but make sure that you are involved in this, because you're the one who has collected the data. You know everything about your data, and you have thought very deeply about your data, and you have very strong feelings about what you think the best story is. Okay. The second question is, what determines this choice of the best story? Well, that, of course, is related to the journal that you want to publish in. What journal do you want to publish in? Of course, every PI will tell you that we want to publish in the highest ranking journal possible. So this is pretty much where this is going. Which story is the best is decided by which story can be published in the highest ranking journal in our field. Okay, so this is usually how this develops. So the higher the journal, you have to be aware, the higher, the wider, the higher the number, the wider the audience that you want to reach. The bigger your story, the higher the journal usually, Each journal, of course, has a scope within you have to tell your story. This is something that you have to check before you make the decision in which journal you want to publish. This is something, the scope of a journal, basically which areas a journal wants to include papers from. This is something that you find on the website of the journal, and this is something you must be aware of. PIs usually know already what the scope is of the journals in their field, so you can go and talk with them about this. Yeah. So as you go through your scientific career, you will build a better and better idea of which journals will cover what stories. Okay. But be aware that audience and story are connected. The bigger your story, the better, the more exciting your story, the higher the journal usually is. And of course, when we say higher, that is related to the impact factor, yeah, of a journal. So the important things that you need to pay attention to when you tell a story in the science is you must state the purpose of your study. Yeah, stories have specific names, they have characters. Yeah, research papers have objectives, they have purposes. Yeah, there is a reason why you did your research, and this is something that needs to be stated. Yeah, and this purpose needs to be defined very clearly so that the reader understands the goal of your study. And of course, the ultimate point where you state the goal of your study is the research question that you are trying to answer. Believe me, this research question often is completely missing in papers, and this is something you need to pay attention to. And today I will show you in the abstract part, yeah, what this looks like. You also need to state your settings. The setting of a story is critical, yeah, that your readers can understand the characters, the personalities. Yeah, in a research paper, this is your background information. Why did you do this study? Why did you ask this particular question? You need to inform your readers about the current status of research. What is the current body of language? What do we know now? What do we not know? Out of this comes your scientific question, and this is very important to state this at the beginning, yeah, of your paper. A story has to have a good conclusion. I mean, if you think about a detective story, you want to know who killed whom. Yeah, you want to know how did it get to this point. This is something a research paper must have. A research paper must have a conclusion that is based on the results, yeah, of your experiments. So the conclusion is a very important part. Often this conclusion, unfortunately, is missing in papers for reasons that is not really clear. Make sure you have a conclusion, and make sure that you write a clear conclusion, a conclusion that is clear to your audience, a conclusion that readers can relate your results to and understand how you come to this conclusion. So again, how do scientists find the best story? The important thing really is you need to think about what story you want to tell before you start writing. Make sure you understand that every set of data has multiple stories to tell, so you have to choose which one you want to tell. You need to discuss with your co-authors, with your PI, which story they think is best. And of course, which story is best is related to the journal that you want to publish in. And one important point that we need to make here, because our students often say, well, is it not enough to just let the figures speak? Well, the figures are only really the starting point of your story. Figures with your data can tell many different stories. Figures contain a lot of information, and I will give you an example in a moment. You must develop a clear storyline so that your readers understand what they should focus on when you present your data. Okay? So in summary, you write to lead the reader to the story you want your data to tell. As I have just said, figures, data can tell many different stories. It is your function as a writer to take your reader by the hand and explain which of the many stories you want your data to tell them. Okay, that is how you should think about this. Okay, up to this point, are there any questions? Is there anything that is not clear to you? Please send your questions to us. I'm happy to answer before I give you the very first example. Otherwise, you can wait for the first example or all the examples that I will give you, and after that we can have a look if you have any questions. Is there anything now that is not clear yet? The main point that I have made so far is that a set of data can tell multiple stories. This may sound new to you. Okay, so please keep this in mind. Any questions? No questions so far. Yeah. Okay, so let's continue. Send your questions. I can answer them later. So the first story, the first example of a good story, I will make it very simple. I will give you a non-scientific set of data, as you can see here. Okay, and let's go through this one set of data to decide what might be the best story here. So let's do some data analysis of this figure. And I use this figure as a figurative kind of example. Of course, your data will not look like this, but what I would like you to imagine is that this is what you get. And in the biological sciences, yeah, most of you are biologists. When you get your data set, often it is not clear what your data are actually trying to tell you. Data are not clear-cut, black and white. They can, tell many different things, and it's up to you to do the analysis of your data and then decide what you think is the most likely story that your data tell you. So let's have a look at this picture. Let's do some analysis. So who is this guy? What is he doing? Where is he going? Why is he there? What time of the day is it? What is his purpose? How do you interpret this very simple image? What do you think is going on here? And certainly there is something going on, right? You just have to now critically analyze what you see and then come to a conclusion, right? So this is how science works, right? You have an observation, and so now you have to think about what story is the most likely that you can tell to a wide audience, right? So to come back to the analogy that I made before about how you were taught how to tell a good story, these are the kinds of things you need to think about. Yeah, what's the carry? What's the setting? Yeah, what's the tension, the action, the climax? What's the resolution here? So let's have a look. What do you think? Yeah, okay. So one of you says, a father takes his bike home as a gift for his child. Okay, yeah. Maybe the bike is broken. Okay, yeah, that's another story. Yeah. Any other stories? Very good. What other stories can you come up with when you look at this? So I have a few potential storylines I could think of. First, maybe, yeah, we could tell a story about dads nowadays in the 21st century doing their part, participating in looking after their children. Someone else says, yeah, maybe the bike needs to be fixed. Okay, maybe that's a story about low quality of kids' bikes. I think this would be a great story. Maybe someone thinks, oh, if I have a look at the hairline of this guy, maybe there's a story about how dads are getting older and older before they have children. Maybe someone might say, well, okay, look at this. Dads nowadays, they're getting more and more fashionable. Maybe when someone wants to tell a story like that. Someone says, oh, this is about exercise. Okay, so here, dad running around with the kid's bike, still 1 hour to go before he has to pick up his kids, doing some exercise. Okay, we cannot see his belly, so we don't know whether he needs exercise. We would need more information. This is just like when you do experiments. What you will find is that the amount of data you have is never enough to completely tell your story as you like, but that's another story. Or maybe this is a story about someone stealing bikes. This is in Beijing. Okay, so maybe there is something else in there altogether. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure you have plenty more ideas of what's going on here. Yeah. The bottom line is, and I hope I made this point with this very simple image here. One set of data, one photo, potentially tells many different stories. And this is exactly how I would like you to think about your data. When you obtain your data from your experiments, it is never clear what the storyline might be. Yeah. Here's another one. This is a story before the pandemic. Very good. Yeah. Maybe there is a COVID-19 story here. In my class, every group of students presents data from COVID-19 until they say we cannot hear it anymore. Please tell us another story. Yeah. But anyway, this is maybe an important story to tell. So you can see this is going in the wildest directions, and this is just one image. Now you imagine you have your data sets, not just one image, not just one figure. You have 3, 4, 5 figures. What kind of story can develop there? How many different stories can be told there? I hope, yeah, just with this simple examples, you're already clear on this. So to give you a little bit more information on where you have to watch out, let me just give you 2 slides that show you how what you have in your mind can determine your storyline. This is something you really need to be careful about. You need to be open-minded, but often we have these preconceived ideas already, and then we just try to fit this image, this figure, these experimental results into this image, and this is something you need to pay attention to. Have a look at this. There are 99 million stolen bikes in Beijing. Imagine this is how you start your story. This is what you have in your mind. Chinese bike share firm closes after 90% of bicycles stolen. Now, imagine you link this back to what you see here. Immediately, you think, surely this has to be a story about bike theft. Now, I'm really happy to see many of you didn't think that way. But this is something that needs to be discussed. And of course, in this particular example, it might be clear to 90% of you that this cannot possibly be a bike theft. I mean, look, this guy looks really relaxed. This is at daytime, people walking around. I mean, you wouldn't steal a bike in broad daylight, certainly not in this part of Beijing. Yeah. So there are many different stories, but in the end, hopefully, there will be one story that will dominate. Every author will agree that this is, yeah, if not the only story, but it's the best story. Okay, yeah. So what you need to remember here from this particular example is once you decide which story your results, your data tell, then you need to develop your story accordingly. Okay, so now once you have decided, okay, that's the story based on your results, then you start developing your background section. Yeah, now you start putting your results in the right order so that they make sense within that story, and you can write your discussion in line with what you want your story to be. Okay, so in my opinion, and there are different opinions, I will show you at the end. There are people who think that you should start differently, but I think this makes good sense. Yeah, you start with your data, and you need to go to your supervisor. You need to talk to the other co-authors and sit down together and say, okay, so what story do we want to tell here? And believe me, I have experienced myself. Once you work interdisciplinary, you work with people from not necessarily from different disciplines, even within biology. So I am a biologist yeah, my area of work was uh, 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 gene regulation within the immune system, but very much at the molecular level. And I worked together with immunologists, and we had a very hard time to develop a storyline that everyone could agree on, because the immunologists, they wanted to talk about it at a cellular level. They had, yeah, the immune system as a whole system in mind. I wanted to tell a story of these genes. Yeah. So this is something, this will take a lot of time. You need to put a lot of effort into this. Yeah. But once you have all agreed on one story, then you can set out and write your background, your results, and discussion section. Okay. Yeah. So you can see how important it is to know the storyline from the beginning, from just this one example. Okay. Any questions? Is that example clear to everyone? Can I see 2000? Yes, clear. Excellent. Wonderful. Look, uh, if most of you are clear with this one example, I think that's wonderful. I will of course show you the other examples just to give you some more information and give you a number of other important points. But if you are clear already on this one example, then that's really great. Here's one question: if we tell a story from a minor part of the data, is that convincing? Um, Look, sometimes, yeah, if this is the biggest story that you can tell, even if it's just from a minor part of your data, if you have like 10 figures, and then one figure really opens up these avenues into that great story, I think that's okay. But all your different data that you have, they need to fit. Yeah. So sometimes you need maybe 9 sets of data before you then come to the 10th set that really reveals a completely different way of looking at your particular system. I think that's okay. Yeah. But I also fear that the reviewers will come back and say, well, okay, so one data set, yeah, shows that this is the case. You should still do experiment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You will probably run into that problem. So you have to be prepared for that, and ideally you start working on extra support apart from this one data set to make a good case for your particular story. Okay. Here's another comment. The man is the major part, but if you talk about the street, is that convincing? Look, I mean, this is a really good question, and this is one of the major problems. When you look at a figure, there you will find dozens and dozens of different pieces of information. And the art of telling a good story and describing your results in a way that it's clear to the reader is to point out which parts of the figure contain the information that you want your readers to pay attention to, because they fit into the story that you're telling. Yeah. It's impossible to I mean, you would have to delete information from a graph if you just wanted to show the bits and pieces that you want the reader to pay attention to. If we don't do this, we always show complete graphs, and there is stuff on there that has to be there, but it's not a main point. And that is really why we write. Yeah, students always say, well, isn't the figure enough? No, the figure is not enough. The figure is necessary to give proof that what you are telling your readers is true, but it's not sufficient. It is necessary, but not sufficient. It is not enough. You need to write to show your readers, to take your reader by the hand and say, hey, okay, you can ignore those parts. I will just say, well, look, this is the part you need to pay attention to, and this is the point you need to pay attention to. This is what writing is all about. This is why we write results sections below figures. Okay? If you understand this, you're already way ahead of most young scholars who wonder, yeah, why do we need to write result sections? Okay? The function of writing results is to take your reader by the hand and show your reader which elements of your figure the reader should pay attention to. Okay, clear? Yes, I will show you biological figures in a moment. I just start with a very simple graph to just make sure that everyone is with us. Okay. Yes, so the words that you use underneath the graph or the figure points your reader in the direction in which you want them to think. When you say major part, you're right. The important part. Okay. Yeah. Very good. Yeah. Excellent. So now let me show you a second example. So here, this is an example where I want to show you how important it is to tell, first of all, the bigger story, but also a complete story, because many scientists do not tell a complete story. So what are we looking at here? We are looking at probably the most famous image of a biological molecule of the last century. This is the famous image taken by Rosalind Franklin. It's the image of crystallized DNA. And the question, of course, is, what is the story here in this image? Is there a story already in this image? Well, if we just take the image itself, I think we all agree that there's really no story yet. Yeah. So this image, of course, as we all learn probably already in primary school, if not in middle school, this image and many of her other wonderful, beautiful images were taken by Watson and Crick to develop a model of DNA structure. If you have a look now at the development of the story, yeah, we come from raw data, this image. It has been transformed into information about the atomic structure, has been turned into knowledge. Yeah, in the results section, we now know that DNA exists in the form of a double helical structure. But the question is that already a complete story? To provide your readers with new knowledge, is that all? I mean, did the paper end with saying, okay, DNA exists in the form of a double helix? Is that why this paper has become so famous and is the biggest discovery of the last century. Is that it? Double helix. Okay, fine. That's all we need to know. Was that it? Is that the complete? Is that a complete story? Have they just thrown this new knowledge at us, or have they done something else? Why is that paper so famous? I mean, you guys are mostly biologists, so you should all know. Apart from throwing this new knowledge about the chemical structure, of this molecule at us, what have the authors actually done? What completes their story? Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, at the time, certainly, there was much talk. Rosalind Franklin herself, believed that there must be three strands instead of a double helix. Yeah, but if you think about in terms of a complete structure, what they have done is they have provided us with new understanding. They have told us something about chemistry, physics, biophysics, biochemistry. No, they have provided us with new understanding about the biology of life, the mystery of life. You remember the sentence? Yeah. It has not escaped our notice that the specific pairing we have postulated immediately suggests a possible copying mechanisms for the genetic material. That is the new understanding. These guys have solved the mystery of life itself. And that's where the paper ended. That is a complete story. The biggest story was not about the chemical nature, about the physical interactions. There are, of course, many different stories that can be told at all these different levels, but no, they decided to tell the biggest story of the 21st century, how they have solved the mystery of life by solving the structure of DNA. Yeah? Okay. Yeah. Everyone clear on that? Yeah. So again, uh, there could be many different stories being told here, but of course, these guys did not let a chance like that slip to tell the biggest story. They were not chemists. Maybe that was their advantage. Crick was a physicist. Watson was a bird watcher. He was he was not into chemistry by any stretch of the imagination. Maybe that was an advantage. Yeah, these guys understood the biggest story here is the story about life and how cells can faithfully pass on genetic information from the mother cell to the daughter cells. That's the story they told in their paper. Okay. So, example 3. So, completely different a story again, not a biological one as the one just now. I tell you a very simple story about sandstorm over Beijing in 2021. So here everyone can see where this is. This is an iconic image. Even a sandstorm cannot prevent you from figuring out where this is. Everyone knows this is the famous campus of the Peking University here in Beijing. And here's a very simple graph. There is nothing difficult to understand. It's probably not even the most scientific graph, but it doesn't matter. All you need to understand here is we have the x-axis time and hours, and here we have the y-axis is the PM reading, the particular matter reading on a logarithmic scale. And in the graph, we have two curves. We have the PM10 reading, and we have the PM 2.5. Everyone immediately understands. Yeah, everyone in China certainly understands what this means. Okay. And so again, imagine this is the kind of data that you have obtained. And immediately you will ask yourself, what is the biggest story that can be told with this very simple data set? Maybe there is a story about atmospheric chemistry. Maybe there is a story about environmental sciences. Maybe there's a story about climate change. Maybe there's a story about medical sciences. And I'm sure if I would ask you, yeah, what story could you immediately imagine when you see this very simple graph? I'm sure we would come up with dozens of different possible stories that could be told here, right? Yeah. So, uh, of course, to come back to what I have mentioned before, that how do you get to this point to tell the best, the best and the biggest story? Um, it depends on all these practical questions. First of all, which journal do you want to publish this in? Yeah. But even before then, what is your main expertise? I mean, who are you as a scientist uh, who has done this experiment? You had already a question in mind when you did this experiment, right? I mean, the way we are telling this here is maybe not quite reflecting how things occur in reality, because if you think about you have a question in mind before you do an experiment. Yeah, I mean, there are two different types of experiment. There are these kinds of experiments where you ask a hypothetical question and you try to you have your null hypothesis. You try to show that your assumption is not right, and then luckily or hopefully you will come to some new discoveries. There are other experiments, other approaches where you just go on a fishing expedition. Yeah, all these omics experiments. You just sequence those particular sets of RNAs you have, or DNA, or you analyze your proteome using a proteomics mass spec approach, and then just have a look what you get. There are different approaches, but usually you have a kind of a question in mind, right? So what we're doing here is kind of sort of in a different way around. But regardless, I think it is still valid. Once you get your data sets, your questions will probably change. Yeah. Your story will definitely change if you discover something new, something unexpected. Discovery means you find something that you didn't know existed before. Yeah. So here in this very simple graph, yeah, these are the kind of things. So depending from what angle you look at this, are you a chemist? You will look at this from a chemical point. Are you an environmental scientist? You will look at this from an environmental point of view. But maybe you're coming from medical sciences. So then maybe you want to tell a story from a medical point of view. So here is one storyline that I could think of, and I'm sure you can think of many other storylines that come to mind. Have a look at this, and here you can now see how your storyline has an effect on how you write your introduction. Yeah, I wrote your background, but background really this is your introduction section of your paper, right? So have a look. Sandstorms are a natural phenomenon occurring during spring season in the northeastern regions of China. These storms potentially pose health risks to the people of regions affected. Okay, immediately you can see this author is not a chemist, yeah? He's not an environmental scientist. This scientist is probably a biologist or comes from the medical sciences. He thinks the best story to tell is one about the health risks posed by sandstorms. So just by looking at the background information, you can see just those two sentences. If we go back to the graph, you can already see where this is going. You can already, if I would ask you to now write the story based on the background information, you would be able to push this into that direction, right? Yeah. So, and of course, the scientific question now, and this is then the part, yeah, in the first part, yeah, in the dragon head, those two. Here you're setting up the characters. Here you're setting up the scenery, yeah. After you introduce the background, where you indicate to your readers in what direction you want to go, you pose your scientific question. While it is well established that sunstorms result in high PM10 levels caused by large sound particles, it remains unclear whether smaller particles, especially those categorized as PM2.5 particles, also increase during episodes of sandstorms. So, I mean, here we make the assumption that we don't know that. Yeah, I don't know how many of you actually knew that it's not just big sand particles that you find in a sandstorm, but yeah, as you can see from the graph, there is a lot of more harmful stuff in there. Yeah, PM2.5 particles. So that's in the direction that this author wants to push this. Yeah. So here, yeah, you have given similar suggestions. Yeah, medical field, public health, exactly. I agree. Yeah, I mean we could have a survey. What do you think? What is the biggest story here? A chemical story, physical, environmental science, or a public health story? I'm sure most of you would have agreed that the public health story is probably the best, the biggest. Yeah. So again, the story that you are going to tell starts with your results. I hope by now most of you will agree with that. Yeah. Especially if you discover something new that no one knew before. Yeah. Whatever the original question was that you posed, the moment you get your results and they are unexpected, then you have to think about, okay, what story can we tell here? So first, decide on your storyline based on the results that you have obtained. Then develop your background or introduction section in your paper. Okay, then you go through your results. You get more experimental data. You put them into your results section, and then you develop your discussion. Okay, yeah. So I hope by now you already have a better idea what this looks like with scientific data. Yeah, how you have to start this whole process of telling the best story. Okay. Yeah. So is everyone clear after giving you these three examples? Is everyone clear on that? Most of you, please tell me yes, clear. Or if you have a question, please ask me a question before we continue. Clear. Very good. Very good. Excellent. I'm very happy to see that. It's very important. This is not a technical skill. I mean, most talks about academic writing to tell you the kind of mistakes you make and how to improve them. But I think to have a better feeling for how to think about storytelling in scientific writing is even more important. All those technical things that you can work down lists. We can give you lists about the mistakes you make, but this is something you need to first develop a feeling for. Ha, very good, very good. One of you says, but without story, how can we conduct experiments to have results? This is exactly what I was talking about a moment ago. Science, of course, does not start, or the scientific process does not start with your data. You're absolutely right. You always have a starting point. Yeah. But what you can see is that your starting point before you do your experiments is a hypothesis, and yes, this hypothesis is based on a framework that you have in your mind, right? Yeah, But then you get your results, and your results show you that your way of thinking was completely wrong. Then you have to come up with a new story, right? So yes, many experiments, and especially PhD and master student projects, they take very small steps, and you will probably not rock the boat and completely overturn a paradigm or a current dogma. Yeah, but I want you to see that regardless of where you start, whether you think about the hypothesis before you start your experiments, or the stories that you develop after you have obtained your results. Either way, you have to think about stories. Yeah. The hypothesis before is based already on a framework that is existing. Yeah. And often your results seem to fit into this. But I want you to make sure that you do not lose sight of all those really interesting results that do not fit into your preconceived framework. I think this is a sure way to miss out on the really intriguing mysteries of life and all the other things that you may investigate on this planet. How this planet works, how the universe works. Yeah. So you're absolutely right. You often have a hypothesis before, and sometimes your hypothesis is confirmed, but all too often it is not. And this is where our storyline, rethinking of your storyline, comes in. Yeah, I hope this is clear. There is a scientific, and that is related, to your point. Yes, of course, there is a scientific question before the story. Yeah, I mean, we could expand this to the hypothesis before you get your results. Yeah, but fundamentally, I think it's the same thing. Yeah. Yeah, I hope that answers your questions. Yeah, you are right. There is a story in your mind before results, but once the results come in, this story may well change. Hopefully, it changes in half the cases. Otherwise, it would be boring, right? So I see this very often in papers. The authors say, um, as expected by us, X binds to Y. Well, the reviewer will say, well, if you have already expected that, so is it then really such an exciting finding? Yeah. So this is something you have to be careful about. Okay. So now let's do a little exercise to see for yourself to see whether you really understand the points that I was trying to make here. So let me show you again, very simple graph, and then I will ask you to write down a storyline. So here, this is a graph that is about COVID. Most of our exercise material these days is about COVID. You can see here number of people affected. So here, this is about cases. Yeah, you can see this is timeline from March 2020 till July 2021. And you can see what's happening here, right? This is about hospital admissions. This is death. So people died because of COVID. And if you put this all together, you get a graph like this. You can see there's wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4. Yeah. And so this is, let's say, this is one graph. And I would ask you now, what is the biggest story here? Very simple. Yeah, you have 3 panels, number of cases, number of hospital admissions, number of people dying. And you have 4 waves. And this is the data set that you're looking at. And you may or may not have had a hypothesis before. I don't think it really makes a big difference here for this exercise. Let's just assume that these data came in and you're being asked to come up with a good story. So Yeah, the figure shows COVID-19 data for Scotland, UK throughout 2020, 2021. So now please write down one sentence describing the storyline you think would be most suitable for these results. Of course, you want to publish this in a high impact journal. Yeah. So what would be your best biggest story? So that doesn't have to be 15 minutes. We can just do this in just 5 minutes. I think you can come up with a storyline. So I leave this up. I'll give you 5 minutes. Please think about what would be your storyline, just in a one sentence. You don't have to write too much. Yeah. So I'll leave this up so you can have a look at this and write down on a piece of paper what you think is the biggest story here. If you have any questions related to the graph, please send to me. I can explain more, but I think it's pretty clear. Okay, so some of you are sending in observations. Okay, so you observe things, but instead of sending me observations, I would like you to send me a one-line storyline. What is the story that you want to tell here that lies behind this graph? There is a lot of detail in this graph. Which detail do you want your readers to pay attention to in particular? Mhm. Very good, very good. Yeah, please keep sending me your storylines, not just observations. The observations, these are the details that you want your reader to pay attention to. But what comes out of this? What is the storyline behind this particular set of data, you think? The storyline, just one sentence. Just one sentence. Yeah, as I have shown you in the Sandstorm example, in what direction do you want to push the story? You can do this in one single sentence. In the Sandstorm example, I push the story towards public health. Yeah, the health concerns of having PM 2.5 rising dramatically during a sandstorm. So what do you think could be the storyline here for this particular image? Very good. Okay. So you see, some of you think the most interesting storyline might be about the seasons, that you have seasonal differences. Why do the number of cases go up at particular times? Does this have something to do with spring, summer, autumn, winter? That could be one storyline. Okay. Yeah. You use previous waves as an indicator of when the next wave will come. Okay. Yeah. Some of you write about uh, changes in the virus. Okay. How the biology of the virus changes. Okay. Anything else? In our class, I remember one of our students came up with the idea that that the behavior of people in England has changed, and by July 2021, no one goes to hospital anymore. So a completely different storyline is about human behavior. So you can see some of you look at this from the virus biology point of view. Others have a human behavioral story. Yeah, very good. Oh, and here we have a wonderful suggestion. Wonderful. So now we have what I think is the most exciting storyline. Thank you very much for that. Uh-huh. Okay. I'll give you 2 more minutes, and then I will show you what I think is the most interesting storyline. Yeah. Please keep submitting your ideas. Ah, okay. Excellent. That sounds like a student who has attended my class before. Wonderful. Okay. So, what's the biggest story here? Yeah, the virus is about viral biology. The virus gradually tried to coexist with people. Yeah, okay. Humans are better equipped to cope with COVID-19. Yeah. Improved healthcare. Okay, this is a healthcare point. Yeah, exactly. This could be your biggest story. But of course, I haven't shown you all the data just to make this a little bit more interesting. But if you have a look, uh, this is the additional information you probably need in order to come to this conclusion. But this is how it works with a paper. You don't just have one set of data. You always have a number of data sets, right? So you're absolutely right. Those of you who said this is a story about vaccination and how successful vaccination was, exactly. The number of vaccinations went up, and this is exactly at a time where you could see the number of people dying from COVID went down dramatically. Yeah. So you can see, as your submissions have shown, there are many different ways to look at this very simple graph. Even though it's a simple graph, there are lots and lots of different pieces of information in there, and you can make up different stories. Yeah, but maybe most of us can agree on that point that the success of vaccinating people is maybe the biggest story of all. Okay, so this is the story that you would publish in Nature, and then of course there are many other aspects of this graph of this set of data that deserves to be looked into, deserves to be published. If not in Nature or Science, then probably in other smaller journals. Yeah. So again, depending on what the knowledge is in the field, how new, how exciting the new findings are that you are presenting, you will then decide together with your co-authors in what journal you want to publish this, and you will develop your story accordingly. Okay, so remember, there are lots of data, even in a single picture, in a single set of data. You and your co-authors must decide which data you want to focus on and write a story about. Okay, so here, this is the conclusion statement at the end of the paper. In conclusion, our findings strongly suggest that the efforts of the UK government to vaccinate substantial parts of the elderly population directly translated into a sharp reduction of patients succumbing to virus infection. Our analysis clearly demonstrated that while infection themselves are not prevented by being vaccinated, this is something that many people get wrong, right? Even if you're vaccinated, you can still get infected. But these infections fail to translate into severe cases or death. Severe case here refers to hospital transmissions. Death is the last panel. Okay, so this is the final point of your complete story, as I have shown you in the example of the discovery of the DNA helix structure. You must tell a complete story. You cannot stop with repeating your results. You must come to a concluding statement at the end that then brings everything back into the wider framework of your work and allows people to understand what the significance of your work is. Okay, so I hope by now, having given you a number of examples, everyone is clear what the idea of storytelling is, why it is so important, and how to set out to find the biggest and the best story. Is everyone clear on that? Yes? Clear, or any questions? Thank you very much, everyone who has submitted. Yeah, sure. Uh, 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 I get your point. Yeah. If you are not familiar with the exact reasons, there's probably more than just the vaccination. Yeah, some of you have mentioned the virus has also changed. This is probably also playing a major part. But to see such a drastic reduction can probably primarily be explained with the fact that the majority of the population had been vaccinated, especially the elderly and the part of the population that was susceptible. Yeah. Yeah, how to find which story is the biggest. So that of course is a critical point, and that is probably the biggest challenge, especially for young researchers, young fledgling researchers, scientists, PhD and master students. This is something. This is what you need to learn. This is a skill that you need to acquire. This is the reason why you do a PhD and a master, to learn how to find the biggest story among all the other things. Yeah, how to work experimentally, how to think scientifically. Yeah, so this is something I mentioned before. When it comes to deciding which journal your work should be sent to, what is the story that you guys want to tell, make sure you are involved in this process. And to all the PIs amongst you, please make sure you include your students in that process. If you want them to become good scientists, they need to be involved in this process. They need to think about this themselves. And like I mentioned before in the class last week, let students write whenever they have results ready. Let them do some writing. Let them start with a storyline. What do you think is the best storyline? What are the alternative? What are the other options for storylines? I think this is a wonderful exercise for students, masters or PhD students, to go through, to practice finding what the best story is. And then you sit down together with the students and say, okay, this story is a good story, but it's probably for a more specialized journal. I think your story is more exciting than that. We really want to publish this in Nature, but for Nature, we know we have a general audience, so we need to find points that is interesting to a wider audience. Wider audience means not just experts in your field. So you need to find something that people are interested, whether it has medical applications, whether it has a relevance in other parts of society. This is what it comes down to. Yeah, Jane, when you say how to find which story is the biggest, the story that has the biggest impact on our understanding of how humans work, how biological systems work, how society works. These are the story most people, many more people are interested in, and these are the stories that you want to tell, right? Yes, definitely. You have to discuss with your coworkers and the PI. Yeah. Um, Sometimes we need to combine with social reality. Sure, I mean, if you can make your your findings, yeah, if you can put your findings into the context of what is going on out in real life. When I was talking to people over at the ICT, the Institute of Computing Technology, we were talking about the progress in facial recognition. Just to give you another example, just imagine, because students always say, "Oh, we make so little progress." I think I have some. No, this is coming a bit later. But imagine facial recognition. You walk into your campus and you have these cameras there that recognize you, and if you're in the system, the door will open. If you're not in the system, you will not be able to go in. Normally, this takes like half a second and the door opens, right? Um, Students always think, oh, our progress is so small and we make such small incremental contributions. But if you think about every bit of this whole system that is involved in making that decision, are you allowed to go on campus or not? It's all related to time. And if each one of these steps takes like 5 seconds, you end up with like half a minute per person. Now imagine in the morning when hundreds of people want to get into campus, if each person has to wait for 5 minutes before the system makes the decision you go in, it's not going to work. And this is how we want our students to think about. Yes, you're only working on one small step, but that small step can make or break these kind of systems that we then use in society, like those facial recognition scanners at the gates of universities or companies. Okay, yeah. If you can put it into such a context, then there will be more people who are willing to read this. Maybe there's a company who wants to throw money at you, wants to buy your system. Yeah, if you're a computer scientist, because your system is so great, your system is so efficient and uses so little time, so little memory, so little space, whatever it is. Yeah, always think outside of your small field. That makes all the difference for your story. Here's a question. I'm not sure if you mean that results from data sets are just results, but conclusions require chosen direction. Yes, yes. I think that this is a good summary. Data sets, yeah, because they contain so much more data that go in so many different directions. You need to say, okay, these data, yeah, we think the best use of these data, the most interesting use of these data is for storyline 1 and not for storyline 2. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, we can discuss this in a case by case, yeah, whether this is always absolutely the case. Some results only tell one story, I'm sure, yeah, but I think most data sets we have, there are multiple possibilities. Okay, yeah, good. All right, so now let me first confirm, is it okay if I keep talking? Are you guys tired? Do you guys want to have a break? Please give me some feedback. It's almost 3 o'clock. I would really like to introduce you to the idea of abstract, how to write an abstract, and give you some examples, and then bring this together with the storytelling. Is it okay if we continue for a little bit? or you guys are so tired of my voice that you can't wait to get away. Please give me some feedback. Continue or stop? Continue? Okay, great. I promise I will not make it too long, but I think the abstract fits perfectly. So if I can tell you that part as well. Continue. Okay. Overwhelming majority says continue. Wonderful. Now, student question again. So when we tell our students about storytelling, they say, well, is IMRAD the same as story? So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the term IMRAD, IMRAD. And so I put a graph together to, hang on, to show you how this is all connected. So here you can see on this graph what IMRAD actually means. So you have seen in the graph about the DNA structure. We talked about the raw data turned into information. This is turned into knowledge, and then you explain the importance and the new understanding. The way this fits together with IMRAD is like this. So I stands for introduction. M stands for material methods. R for results. D for discussion. Yeah, IMRAD. The A comes from the end. Yeah, okay. So this is what you will often find in books about academic writing, that papers have an IMRAD structure. It just means that papers have an introduction, they have a material methods, they have results, and they have a discussion conclusion. Yeah, and so you will agree the information knowledge is in the results section, importance, new understanding, future directions is in the discussion section. Yeah, so in that sense, yes, the IMRAD structure is the commonly agreed upon sequence of the pieces of material that you need to have in a paper. Okay, and so when we talk about a story, yeah, then yes, a story is bound within the structure, and you can find this across the different disciplines. Even computer scientists use that, even though they call it completely different. When you have a look at a computer science paper, it doesn't say introduction, it doesn't say material methods, it doesn't say results, it doesn't say discussion. The terminology is completely different, but fundamentally, because the scientific method and how we present our data is always the same. This structure, the IMRAD structure, applies there as well. Yeah. So here, IMRAD structure. Yeah, what I have shown you before. The I introduction. This is the first part. This is the head of the dragon. Material method result is the second part. Yeah, discussion. That's the resolution. This is where you explain why your data are so important. So here on this slide, yeah, have a look in the handout or take a snapshot. This is exactly how these things fit together. Yeah, this is our story, and this is IMRAD. So IMRAD is just the name, the technical term, if you like, for how a story should be structured. Okay, yeah. So if you stick to this structure, then you are already on the right way. But simply because you have an introduction and you have a result and you have a discussion, it doesn't mean you're telling a good story. It does not mean you're telling the best story. Yeah. So storytelling takes much more than just adhering to the structure. As I have tried to explain to you, on the basis of your results, you then need to think, what is the best story? And then you write your introduction, your background part according to that. And then you write your discussion section according to that storyline that you want to follow. Okay. Yeah. I hope everyone is clear on that. So here, this is just put together in another way. Yeah. So for the discovery paper, like the DNA paper, yeah, raw data, the X-ray photo by Franklin, Watson and Crick turned this into new knowledge, DNA double helix, the importance, secret of life revealed. Of course, this has implications for so many fields, not just biology, in the future. So this is how you can imagine this. In all disciplines, if you have a methods paper, not a discovery paper, you have your test data, you have the results of your data analysis, and so on. So not every paper is a discovery paper, but you can pretty much put it together like that, even for a methods paper. So okay. So so I mentioned this already. Masters and PhD students, they say, well, we don't really tell an interesting story. We have small projects. I talked about this already, and I want to bring you this this inspiring picture. Everyone knows about this. Think outside the box. As I have mentioned with the facial recognition system, even those small quantitative improvements, you just add data, to either support a particular dogma, or you find something completely different. In any way, there will be a qualitative change at some stage, and then the whole dogma will change, and things will be possible that were not possible 10 years ago. When you build machines and tools. So this is exactly the part that then needs to go into the conclusion of your complete story. Otherwise, you just provide a new knowledge. Always make sure, you write a conclusion at the end. So now I promised you to just show you a few slides about how to think about an abstract, and the abstract, pretty much what I told you about storytelling is compressed in an abstract, because the abstract is the mini version of the story of your paper. Okay. So let me just run you through some basics. You can see there are a lot of problems. You can see students have a lot of questions. Like, here is the abstract and overview of the results section. Well, after these couple of slides, I'm going to show you. I hope you will understand that no, that is not the idea of an abstract. Why is it important to write a good abstract? Again, we have just talked about that you have to tell a story, that you have to tell the best and the biggest story. Your abstract is doing that in a compressed form. How to write an informative abstract, I will show you in a moment. Let's see. So I mentioned to you, the abstract is a mini version that has everything in there: a background, your scientific question, maybe your methods, sometimes not so important, results, and conclusion. The important thing here to remember is that you should really have these parts in your abstract. The student just asked, is it okay just to write results? Well, no, it's not. As teachers, for how to write well, we tell you, no, it's not. But unfortunately, in reality, and I will show you one example, more often than not, this is what authors do. And we want to discourage you from doing so, just to use your abstract to just throw knowledge at your readers. What we want you is to tell the story of your paper in the abstract. And then, if your readers find your story interesting, they will read the rest of the paper. If you just throw results at them, they might just go somewhere else. We can skip this. So here are two slides that are from the Nature guidelines, and you can take a snapshot, and we can send this to you in the handout. These are the Nature guidelines, how to write a good abstract, and the important thing is, first of all, have a look. How much introduction? 1 or 2 sentences providing basic introduction to the field that is comprehensible to any scientist. 2 to 3 sentences with more detailed background comprehensible to scientists in your field. Look, we have already 5 sentences. Can you imagine that? Have you ever seen an abstract that has 5 sentences background? I'm sure most of you will say no. Yeah. The nature guidelines tell you how you should do it, because the function of an abstract is to tell a good, complete story. And as you have seen in the story part, if you do not provide your readers with background, how do they know why you are asking that particular question? Yeah. So please make sure you give some space to background information. 1 sentence for your scientific question, and then you come to the results. And now I want you to have a look at this. Nature guidelines tell you 1 sentence summarizing the main result. 1 sentence. Can you believe that? What you will normally find is that most of the abstract is results, right? That's not correct. It shouldn't be like that. Nature guidelines says 1 sentence. I mean, I have not seen a single abstract that stuck to that recommendation. Yeah, but I want you to be aware of that. Yeah, and then we have conclusion. All of this is conclusion. The main results in comparison to what we thought before. Put your results into the general context, and then give broader perspective. This is the end point. So, these are some common phrases that you will find. We don't have to spend too much time on this, but please pay attention to the phrases that you find in abstracts. Now, there are some common problems, and I have already mentioned this. There's no background information. There is no problem statement. You will find abstract that don't even mention the scientific question you have. The results can be up to 90% of an abstract is way too long. No conclusion. So you see, you will find abstracts that really have missing one part or another, often more parts, more than one part, and that is really a problem. So let me quickly show you a bad example here of something really interesting published in Science about how many T-Rex, you know, these scary looking dinosaurs roaming the earth in the past. There's some interesting material here you can read in the handout, but just to show you the abstract, that's the abstract. Although much can be deduced, blah, 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 that's the problem statement. And then we have just results. There's no background. There's no conclusion. Most of the abstract is results, and that is something we would really like you to prevent. Let me show you 2 really good examples here. This is one about CFC-11, one of those ozone depleting gases that was found to increase in the atmosphere. Surprisingly, unexpectedly. Have a look. Without reading through the abstract, you can see there's introduction. However, this is the scientific question. Here we show that. This is the results part. And we have a conclusion. Yeah, beautifully structured. This is what a good abstract should look like. There's background, problem, results, conclusion. Okay. Another good example about RNA being used, yeah, for vaccines. So now, so the author of this paper is Kadi Karikó. I really hope she will win the Nobel Prize this year. She's the one who, over many years, believed in the power of RNA for use as vaccines. She had many occasions to quit her job. She stuck. She hang in there. Read the story. This is the name. This is the title of the article. Anyone who's interested. This is one of the most interesting, fascinating science stories of how someone could stick to their guns, and the rest, as they say, is history. Anyway, this is the original. This is the abstract from the original paper. Beautiful, yeah. Introduction. This is the problem statement. We show that. This is the result section, and have a look at the end. We conclude that. I mean, how many abstracts do you find where they say we conclude that? Conclude. This is the conclusion section. It even tells you here's the conclusion. Yeah, beautifully written. Worth taking as a good example. So please have a look at the original paper. Yeah. So we don't have to push it too much. This is a third example. You can have a look at the handout where you have all the different parts. Yeah. So that's pretty much all I want to push. I have a little task that I can leave as homework. I don't want to push too much into your Q&A time. So again, writing an abstract requires the knowledge to how to tell a good story. If you can write a good abstract, and please use these examples that I've shown you here, you will be able to write a good paper, because only if you know what the story of your paper is, will you be able to write an abstract that has all these different parts. Yeah. And again, the abstract, yeah, is probably not something that you write at the beginning. The abstract is based on the rest of the paper, but the abstract is very much a reflection on how good a story you're telling in your paper. And it deserves all the attention, both by you, the writer, as well as by the readers. And believe me, if you write a good mini version of your paper with an interesting, engaging story to tell, your readers will go on and read the rest of your paper. Okay, so keep those two things connected. When you think about how to write an abstract, think about what you have learned today on how to think about developing a good story, how to write a good story, what are the elements of a complete story. Make sure you don't stop with knowledge. Make sure you stop with the importance, the significance of your complete story, the conclusion section. Okay, so that's pretty much all. I think we can stop here. I'm very happy to take questions, so please fire away. Ask me any questions, any comments that you would like to make now, and then we can discuss anything that is unclear. Yeah, we have enough time, so please go ahead. Any questions? Remember, you are anonymous. You cannot ask any questions that could embarrass you. There are no silly questions. Yeah, any question is important. So, okay, so here we go. In the abstract, sometimes results are described in present tense and most in past tense, what they have done. Okay. So because I put the abstract in the context of storytelling, I have taken out those slides. You're absolutely right. There seems to be this tendency nowadays to use present tense exclusively in the abstract. Now, from a I understand why writers do that, but from a grammatical point of view, I think this is really problematic, and I don't think it is necessary. So there's a simple rule for how to use tense properly, and correctly. Number one, whenever you make a factual statement, X binds to Y, please use present tense. Whenever you make a statement about a past action, please use past tense. It makes no sense to me that you use present tense because you are finished with your study. Yeah. Now, this is in a nutshell. Yeah. Facts, present tense. Past action, past tense. Now, of course, there are some verbs that make it a little bit more difficult. Here we show. Why is it present tense? The reason why we say here we show is because whenever your readers look at your paper, you still show them. You show them today, you show them tomorrow, you showed them yesterday, but you always show. Okay? But if you say here we found, you use past tense because found means something that you have done in the past. So that is very confusing. I understand that. Yeah. So that is something please pay attention to in the papers. Yeah. Apply this very simple rule, and that should get you through for most parts. Yeah. So my opinion is it is silly to use present tense for everything. Certainly use it for the conclusion section where you want to make your readers believe that what you found is a fact. In conclusion, here we found, or our paper, our findings clearly demonstrate that X binds to Y. So then you indicate to your readers that you think this is a biological phenomenon that is independent of your own results. Independent as in, it's not just because we did this experiment. No, this is a mechanism that has existed throughout evolution. Now we have just discovered it. Okay, so it's a fact. Yeah, so this is how you can think about it. Yeah, so please keep using past tense for past actions. Yeah, we investigated, we assessed, we evaluated, we tested. There is no need to say, here we test whether X, Y, Z. No, you have already finished with your testing, right? So to me, that's just silly. Use present tense for facts. And if you want to make your readers believe that this is a fact, that is true to yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Yeah? Okay. Another question. I've got a question related to last session. When I read a paper, I found that it's easy to forget something. Is it necessary to take notes, and how to take notes? That's a wonderful question. You know what? Actually, at UCAS, at the university here of the academy, we used to have courses for note taking. And someone has decided that this is not important. I can tell you, my students have great difficulties. They simply do not know anymore how to take notes. And we know why, because they get the handout, they can tape, everything is being prepared for students. And so naturally, they don't think it is necessary to take notes. But you're absolutely right. When you read a paper, you must take notes. So we now have a reading course where we practice just that. So we allow our students to take notes from what they have read, and then they must write a summary based on those notes in class. They are not allowed to write the summary using the original article. Again, this is something for supervisors. If you're looking for extra work for your students, please don't listen, students, what I'm saying now. Make them do these kind of exercises. Let them read a paper and let them take notes, and then they must write an abstract, the abstract of the paper, without using the original paper. I think that will really dramatically improve students' reading of papers, because now you have to read with focus. Yeah, what's the story? What's the story of this paper? What is the new knowledge, and what is the new understanding? Yeah. So again, we can connect this issue of taking notes with the issue of story. What is a complete story? There's data, so that there is a background, there's a scientific question, there's methods, there are the results, also knowledge, and then there is a conclusion. This is the new understanding. If students would have to write a summary like this, yeah, they will be able to take notes with focus on those things. What is the main background information that is necessary to understand the scientific question? What is the scientific question? What is the main finding? Yeah, to develop a storyline like this. This is something we do is in our advanced course, and we have been doing this now for 13 weeks, and by now our students, they know exactly how this works, and when they go back, I believe they will be in a very good position to, first of all, read papers, take notes, and they will be in a much better position to write papers themselves, because they are aware of the central issue of story telling and how to think about this. So yeah, so now let me go back. Lots of questions here related to notes. Yeah, I hope this answers your question. Some also use perfect tense. Yes, look, there are, of course. I mean, this is a very very much in a short summary. Present and past tense, simple. But of course, if you talk about a field and you talk about several studies have been done, then you use the continuing text tense. That's okay. Yeah. So you need this in the introduction. But some authors use the have plus verb tense in the results, in the discussion. No need. Only in the introduction you need it occasionally, when you talk about a number of studies have shown blah blah blah. Yeah, then you talk about continuing, because these papers have been published in different times, so you need the tense, the continuing tense. Yeah. Grace, if I want to summarize a field of research, what is important beside conclusion, method, and technique? Look, when you say summarize a field, you're talking about a review article. A review article is written very differently. Yeah. So then it's not so much about methods and techniques anymore. A review article, you review the knowledge up to that point, from a point where another review was written. What I'm telling you here is all about original research, academic research papers, very different. Yeah, so please don't confuse with summarizing a field in a review. How to write a good review, we have a whole unit on this in our MOOC, on our MOOC platform. Please go there. We don't have the time here to go through the details. Feel free to have a look there. Yeah, you will find videos and exercises and everything there. Yeah. So Giovanna, the T-Rex abstract example contains only 2 kinds. Yeah, but it's still published in Science. Look, yes, and that's unfortunate. I would have expected Science to do better, the journal Science. But look, everyone is excited about T-Rex. Yeah, everyone wants to hear about dinosaurs. So you can kind of understand. Maybe they sent it to Nature, and Nature said, your abstract is so badly written, we reject your paper. So then it went to Science. I don't know. It's just a joke, but I hope so. It was the case like that. So the choice of format major depends on specific journal. No, it should not. please don't get that idea, Joanna. I want you to take home from today that no matter what the format of your abstract should be, background, scientific question, results, maybe methods, yeah, but definitely results, and conclusion. And results must not be 90% of your abstract. Please make sure you tell a complete story. You do not just throw your results at your readers. Yeah. That they got away with this has more to do with how hot that topic is rather than with good writing. As I always say to our students, we must keep in mind content is important, is highest priority. Writing is second. What we are telling you here is how to improve your writing so that your paper does not get desk rejected. If your science is so outstanding, maybe the journal will say, look, your writing is really horrible, but your science is great. Can we revise the paper for you for free? Yeah, maybe someone will have this kind of experience. It happened before. Yeah, but we have to keep this in mind. It's not about writing. It's not like you have really bad results, but your writing is so beautiful. The journal will say, "Look, your science is horrible, but it reads so beautifully. We'll accept it anyway." There is no such thing. Huh? What is the rule for figure citation? Figure citation. When you say figure citation, you probably mean the location elements where you show the reader where to find information. We can talk about this when we talk about organization. I have a few slides for each section, sort of the standard format. But just to answer your question, my favorite location element is at the beginning of a sentence. You say, as shown in figure 1, as shown in figure 2. But some journals tend to deal with this differently, so you must check how papers in the journal you are going to submit your paper to, how they do that. But as a general rule, this is the easiest way to deal with location elements when you say figure citation. Yeah, I'm not quite sure if that's what you mean, but I assume. Could you please show your MOOC name again? I forgot the name of the course. Look, definitely, I can definitely. I don't have this. I don't have the slide here. It wasn't in last week. I will show it at the beginning of next week's again. Don't worry, yeah. And I will also send it to the organizers. I can also keep it in the survey. So when you go to the survey, you can find the information there. After the talk, I will update it so you can have a look there. Yeah, the QR code for the survey you can get from the organizers of this course. Okay. LCL in Chinese, England, not sure what the question is. Please send me a question. I found here. Oh, sorry, that's the name of our course. Yeah. Okay. All clear. Yeah. I understand. Yeah, that's the name of our MOOC course. That's right. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions? We still have a little bit. What time is it? It's 3:30. So if there's anything else. Any other questions? No other questions? Okay. Look, as I said, if you have any questions before next week, please go back to our survey. You can keep asking questions there, and I will answer them as we go through the material. Yeah. So no problems there. If you cannot get your question together now, that's fine. Yeah, you can go to our survey. The QR code is with the organizers, of this seminar series. Okay, that's no more questions. Yes. I will send you the guidelines about the tense again next week. I can show you some examples for the different sections of a paper. Yeah, no problems. Okay, thank you very much for attending today. Stay safe, stay healthy, and hopefully I will see you all again next week. Thank you. Thank you very much. See you next week.